Hi medieval friends, today we're doing some Pennsic prep, so we're going to be making some meat pies. Meat pies can be found in a variety of locations and time periods, but we're going to do ours a little Norse style by using oat flour, leeks, ground pork, cabbage, and butter for our ingredients. When it comes to this particular recipe, for the cabbage we're going to shred it. And the easiest way to do that is to first cut it in half, and then you want to cut out this core here on the outside. It's not like iceberg lettuce where you smash the bottom of it and you pull the core out. You have to cut the core of cabbage out. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to shred it. If you've seen any of my other videos, you should know how to prep leeks. If you haven't, we're going to slice the leeks, and what you do is you cut off at the roots and you cut off just below where the leaves start. Then you wash them really well. Leeks grow in very sandy soil and it gets in between all these layers. You can even see some in the dark right here. That's all sand, that's all dirt. So we're going to cut the leaves off, we're going to cut the roots off, we're going to wash them, slice them in half long ways, and then slice them this way. I absolutely have the SCA to thank for my love of leeks. I had never tried them before joining, and they're absolutely one of my favorite vegetables. These leeks are a little extra dirty, so we're going to give them another rinse through. Something to keep in mind, when you cut up this many leeks, you are very quickly reminded that they are a part of the onion family, and your eyes and your nose are not going to be your friend when you're done. Alright, our cabbage is all shredded, and my house smells like I should be making coleslaw. There's about 3 full cups here. We're going to use maybe half of it for this particular recipe. Okay, our oil is ready and we are going to add our leeks. And we are going to add our cabbage. I know I said I'm only using half for this recipe, but that's because I am making both pork and beef pies. So we're going to throw half in the pork pies, and the other half is going in the beef that are the exact same as this. I'm just not going to make you watch me cook beef and pork. Just stir them up so they're nice and mixed in. Give them a few minutes to, the cabbage will wilt and the leeks will shrivel and caramelize. And we're just going to keep on mixing this for a minute, get them all combined. Probably could have combined them first, either way, it doesn't matter. And we'll see you when they're cooked. And now that our cabbage and leeks have pretty thoroughly cooked and they're about half the size they were, we're going to go ahead and pour them into a side dish and get our pork on the skillet. If your vegetables absorbed all your oil and you're using a lean cut of meat like ground turkey, you're going to want to add some more oil to the pan. If not, don't worry about it. Just get your meat on here, get it all browned up. Nice and small pieces. We'll see you in a minute. And that was literally about a minute. You want to make sure these pieces get nice and moved around. You want to make sure you're not missing any half-cooked, slightly raw, icky bits. And once that's done, we're going to switch this to low And we are going to add in about half of our vegetable mix. Like I said, the other half is going to be used for the exact same thing, but beef instead. Now, if you are adding salt, pepper, sage, thyme, chili powder, whatever your spices are that you're adding to this, this is the time you want to do it. We are going to add a little bit of salt and garlic. I'm sorry I can't give you measurements. I don't use them, but you are free to see how much I use and try to mimic. I'm not one of those people that absolutely overuses the garlic, but I do like a good amount. And the Norse people were well known for their garlic and onion and leek gardens. And it was really dangerous to mess up your neighbor's stuff. And for pork, I'm going to add a little bit of sage also. The powdered one, but I am out of the fresh stuff. Mine got burnt and dried off and did not come back. Maybe about 1/4 of a teaspoon on that one, maybe a half. Do it to your preference. You can add in some fennel. That would be period also, fennel seed. Now it's time for our pie crust. You can leave this on low, or you can set it to off and just reheat it. I'm going to leave mine sit on low. With this pan, I'm not worried about stuff burning to the bottom of it. Pie crust recipes really haven't changed all that much. So here we have 3 cups of oat flour, 1 cup of butter, and 3 eggs. The eggs are absolutely optional. If you've ever made a modern pie crust, it's just flour, butter or shortening, and a little bit of ice water. And that's really all it takes. So this is going to be very, very similar. If you've never worked with any kind of gluten-free flour, it is much more absorbent than your regular wheat flour. And yes, Vikings did have access to wheat, but they were able to grow oats, barley, and rye. If you want to stay gluten-free, you have to go gluten-free oats. If you just have a wheat issue like my household, regular oats are just fine. These are rolled oats that I put into my coffee grinder and turned into flour. So we are going to take our fabulous little pastry blender and our butter and combine them up. So now that we've got a nice round ball of dough, very, very sticky dough. Like I said, this is not the same as wheat flour. This is where you can either add your eggs or you can skip it. I'm going to add the eggs and do it off camera because one-handed eggs usually means eggshells. And I have misread my very own recipe. So it's not 3 cups, it's 3 3/4 cups of flour. I just thought my butter was too soft. Silly me. Much better. Still sticky dough. It's just how oats are. Think oatmeal. Think a really, really thick breakfast oatmeal. So it's still sticky. I have yet to come across a gluten-free pie recipe where you can roll out like regular. Not that I can make anyway. You can buy the crust at the store. They're crazy expensive. This isn't that hard. All you have to do is press it into your pan instead. If you want to use wheat flour, if you want to use store-bought pie crust, absolutely be my guest. That changes nothing about how this recipe works. Since I am Pennsic prepping for multiple people camping, I'm going to use my cast iron muffin tin, which has 7 slots. Coincidentally, we have 7 campers. I'm going to take spoonfuls of my dough and place them in each individual cup and press them until it's thin but not completely. I'll show you what I mean. When you are working with dough that you have to press in order to spread instead of roll out and place, you don't want it to be so thin that you go through. Sometimes you can get it to where you can see through, but you haven't created a hole. It's still too thin. These are little hand pies, so you still want to have a base at the bottom of it that you can't really see the pan, and it's got a little bit of thickness to it. Once we get it to this point, I'm just going to do the one right this second. Once you get them all filled, you want to take your filling and it really doesn't take much to fill little pies like this. A little bit more. And that's about it. And then we're going to take more dough and we're going to squish it flat and give it a lid. So in order to get the lid, I took approximately 1 tablespoonful of my dough and rolled it in a ball in my hands and palm squished it flat, being real careful that it doesn't stick to my hand so much that I rip a corner in it. You can make your hands a little wet, that helps the dough not stick to you, but then you just place it down a little bit in your pie, and those little edges you fold over and try to seal it. So we're going to do that with our other 6 now. Now that all of our meat pies have top and bottom crusts and are filled with delicious meat, we are going to put them in the oven at 425 degrees for about 15 minutes. You'll notice there's quite a bit of leftover ingredients. You can use these as a soup base, just add some broth and other vegetables. You can make it with scrambled eggs. You can make more pie. If you're doing a traditional, like a 9-inch crust, just make it a nice big fat pie. Now that our pies all have tops and bottoms, we are going to give it little air holes so the steam can vent out, and since we are making pork and beef pies, you need to know which ones are which. So we're going to add a bunch of little peas to our pies and put them in the oven at 425 degrees for about 15 minutes. Our 15 minutes are up and our pies are done. Happy feasting, friends!